Bucky Beaver, the protagonist of the game alongside his friends, crash into an island being kept hostages by a vicious wolf. Bucky, being the only one free of the big bad wolf's grasp, explores the mysterious island, discovering horrifying evidence which unveils the backstory of how this game was made and the tragedies the people involved in making the game had to experience. Hi folks, I'm R and welcome to Shipwrecked 64, a cursed game which is inspired by PS1 and N64 era games. Keep in mind that this video will have spoilers, and with that said, let's begin. Someone called Daniel, being an eBay seller, gets their hands on an old N64 cartridge game called Shipwrecked 64. Trying to run the game on emulators, they fail to do so until they manage to build their own emulator and get the game working. This is an unedited version of the game which has disturbing images which some might call a cursed cartridge game. The game plays just as intended, with the scenario beginning. It was a day like any other. Bucky the Beaver and his friends were on a fishing trip when they go through an unexpected heavy storm. This causes their boat to crash at a seemingly abandoned island with a wild pirate-like humanoid wolf. Bucky and his friends survive, with Bucky managing to stay safe but his friends being taken by the wolf into different parts of the island. Bucky, determined to escape the island, explores it in order to find his friends. He comes across Walter the Walrus, who informs Bucky that he was on a different boat, who's also stranded with his boat being stuck on top of a hill. He asks Bucky to get it down for him, but not at nighttime, as strange sinister things occur in this place. As Bucky tries to head to the other side of the island to get the boat down, the game glitches several times, with Bucky being pulled into the sky. After repeating the dialogue with Walrus, a secret footage shows the perspective of a person waking up to the telephone ringing sounds, when a beaver-looking like entity stops the person and beats them mercilessly with a chair. Back to the game, Bucky manages to obtain a key and get to the boat when he heads back to where he started. Going through the door, there's no sign of the walrus, and instead, Bucky finds himself in a debug zone. The room is littered with signboards reading that someone took some people's money and robbed them of their fundings. That's when the game glitches back to normal, with Bucky back at exploring the island to find his friends. Going to the park section of the island, Bucky encounters another talking animal who says that she's being on probation, with certain beings wanting her to find coconuts. Bucky decides to help her out and find 20 coconuts. After succeeding, a mysterious text appears saying that Olive Otter was freed, which is the entity that Bucky just helped. In the park, Bucky also finds the wolf that has captured the friends and put him to work, with the wolf forcing Bucky to carry out a task of going to an abandoned fort and collect treasure. In return, the wolf promises to return Bucky's boat so that they can get back on their way on the sea. Why the wolf is not doing it himself is a mystery, but it seems that the island is not as safe as it appears to be, with malevolent beings occupying the place. This soon is confirmed as when Bucky enters the fort, a sinister being sets chase after him, with Bucky narrowly escaping it while collecting the treasure the wolf wanted. This in return leads to Bucky getting his boat back, going back on his expedition to find the rest of his friends. Going to the theater, Bucky comes across the grumpy goose called Giovanni, who informs him that he has been cooking for the wolf and requires Bucky to help him turn the ovens off when they start to smell. Something that seems to act as an allegory that we will find out about soon enough. Doing so, Bucky manages to free Giovanni, the last of his friends, who joins Walter Walrus and Olive Otter. With all the friends rescued, Bucky alongside his friends get back on the boat and head back on their way. back home, with the wolf being happy with their help, who assisted him finding gold and getting a hearty meal. This seems to end the game being the good ending, with Bucky and his friends being intact and being freed from the grasp of the big bad wolf. This all seems fine and happy until the secrets are unveiled, unraveling the dark mysteries surrounding this game. If Bucky and only one or some of the friends get on the boat, distorted images of all the animals are displayed, being shown in an eerie manner, with the otter having deformed teeth, the goose having a fork or a utensil stuck in his eye, and the walrus bleeding severely. Only replaying the game and uncovering secrets, more information is revealed about what is actually going on. Going through a door, Bucky comes across a row of lockers as if representing lockers in schools or workplace. Going past them, he enters a bright liminal space where he encounters Olive Otter. A cryptic form then appears, which seems to be an application form signed by someone called Johnson. The application form includes the name of the person called Olivia Finch who died due to drowning, someone who is linked to Olive Otter. The description of the application form explains on how this is an experiment where real people have seemingly turned into these characters known as Starlings. Johnson seems to be the staff member who's in charge of the Starling to monitor her and prevent her from causing damage to the company that is performing the experiments or causing injury to any other staff member. That is what the first cryptic monochrome footage displayed, with the Beaver becoming hostile and injuring or even killing a member of staff who wanted to answer a ringing phone. A further description on Olive Otter explains how she had deformities of teeth which were later removed, and the verdict labels this as successful. Therefore, the distorted eerie images of Bucky and friends on the boat represented the dead test subjects who were doomed to be replaced by these entities, having a horrible fate of staying in these forms for eternity, especially as this game is from 1997, which means that they have been stuck for more than 25 years and will be for many more years to come. Going through another secret door, Bucky comes across Walter Walrus when suddenly a corresponding application form shows up. Displaying the person who was transformed into this entity was someone called Nathan Stewart, who died from assault. The current model of Walter Walrus apparently suffers from bleeding, which needs more work, with the handler being someone called Louis W. Trying to interact with Olive Otter once more, her character starts glitching when the game cuts to secret recordings of Olivia Finch filing a formal complaint.
Hello, this is Olivia Finch. I'd like to please submit a complaint. Brandon has been showing up every night to my residence. Brandon Lester, you know, the other costume guy? He just walks by, still wearing the suit, sometimes just placing his hand on the window. Other times, he'd grab the sliding glass door, jiggle the handle around, like he wanted in. I'll let the dead eyes of that stupid costume stare back at me. Last night, though, is the reason I'm doing this. Brandon walked over and just began to slam his head against the door. I don't know why, but it kept me up for the several hours this went on. He only left it around 4 a.m, stumbling away, leaving a gross stain all over the window. Please, just deal with him. I can't afford to keep losing sleep.
The complaint is about a mascot called Brandon Lester who has been stalking and following Olivia to her room, scaring her and acting very strange. This odd behavior apparently continues for many nights until one night, Brandon slams his head against Olivia's window, which freaks her out to the point of her wanting to file a complaint against them, so maybe this would stop. Interacting with Giovanni Goose again, a secret monochrome tape dated January 3rd, 1990 unlocks, displaying how the Beaver smashed someone's head and then proceeded to burn their face on a stove. This of course correlates with Giovanni Goose, whose responsibility is to cook for the wolves and turn the stoves off on a timely manner. This depicts the first person the mascot in beaver suit beat up to a pulp with a chair was possibly Nathan Stewart, the person who died due to assault being linked to Walter Walrus. Subsequently, going to a secret room with images of victims such as Olivia Finch and Nathan Stewart, Bucky enters an even smaller room where Giovanni Goose is waiting in. Another application form is then displayed on the screen with the information of someone being there called Gary Wilson, who died due to severe burns, having his face completely deformed. Gary's character, Giovanni Goose, seems to have a deformity of a fork in his eye, which also needs to be refined. The deformities all show in the ending where not all the friends are in the boat, with the walrus bleeding, Olive Otter having deformed teeth, and the goose having a fork in his eye. On looking at another voice recording, someone called Mark asks the person on the line if the demo has been already done or not, possibly the demo for the game, to which the person responds that it has, with them also wanting to bring Brandon over to film the commercial. Brandon seemingly being the mascot who terrified Olivia, the mascot who will possibly be the one in the beaver suit who kills 3 people named Nathan, Gary, and Olivia.
Hello? Who's this?
Hey, this is Mark.
Oh! Hello! What's going on?
Well, today's the day, buddy. Hey, you got the demo ready?
Oh, yeah! It's all set up. When are you coming over?
5 p.m. sharp. I'll be bringing Brandon over to film the commercial, like you asked.
Oh. Already?
You did ask for it.
Alright.
More voice recordings reveal how there were some disputes about the game, with the main character, Bucky, not being recognizable, a character that is well known in the real world in this universe, with a mascot even present for the commercials. Mark complains how so much money and funding has been poured into the game, correlating with the debug room which Bucky found, with the studio not even incorporating known iconic characters that the company owns. The company wanting to seize the funding and cancel the project, something strange starts to happen. All of a sudden, a cryptic text appears on the screen with Connor, the person in charge of the studio, telling his son Pat to grab a camcorder following certain instructions left for him. A strange video then shows the perspective of someone on the roof of a house, jumping off with the video coming to an abrupt end.
Look, it doesn't even look like Bucky.
What?
Buddy, you know what I mean. Just, look, this is Bucky. This is the face millions around the world recognize as a pop culture icon. That is a beaver in a blue suit. Chief of the Wolves, yeah, of course. Just, Connor, you're telling me with the vast amount of characters that we own, you picked up some random wolf and dropped him into the game? We're not making this game for your son, Connor. We're making this game for the millions of people who look up to our brand. With all due respect, this is... Connor, just... Look, I'll give it to you straight. Do you have any idea how much money your company sunk in the studio grounds?
Another application form is then displayed showing the file of Brandon Lester, the mascot who was acting strange, who died due to fentanyl being linked to Bucky Beaver. The intro screen then changes to the beaver only being present on the boat, with his eyes being gouged out. Going through text files of the game, links to ARG YouTube videos are present, which one is another voice recording of Olivia and another of a commercial of the Bucky Beaver. The story being very convoluted leaves a lot of room for personal speculation. Connor, being in charge of running a studio for a large company called Starlings, is tasked to create a game incorporating popular iconic characters which the company owns. Connor, being provided with a large budget, doesn't seem to do a good job at creating a demo, failing to meet the demands of the company, creating a far lower quality game than expected. The villain of the game, the wolf, instead of being a popular character, is just a generic wolf which Mark, the spokesperson of the company, complains to be irrelevant to the company's image, with Connor seemingly wanting to create a game for his son Pat than what is expected of him, making a game to appeal to popular demand. This leads to Mark pulling the funding and cancelling the project, which causes a major incident which is left for own speculation. The game alludes to Brandon Lester, a random mascot, killing the staff members in the studio in brutal ways, killing Olivia by drowning her, killing Nathan by assaulting him with a chair, and Gary by burning him. These people somehow turn into the game characters, Olivia to Olive Otter, Nathan to Walter Walrus, and Gary to Giovanni Goose. It's a possibility that the company actually experimented with their souls and transported them into the games. That is why they have these specific application forms holding people accountable or certain handlers for any mishandling that would lead to injuries or damage. Despite what may seem to be a drug-fueled massacre by Brandon, it's a possibility that Connor, the failed game designer, dresses up in the beaver suit and murders as many people as he could in a fit of rage of not being able to complete the project. However, this could also be Brandon, as his cause of death is phenitol, which could be a scrambled alternative to fentanyl, a strong opioid used as a pain medication. Whatever it is, the company referred to the characters as starlings, which has a definition of companions or animals living in flux, which could portray that these characters are popular in this universe, being well known whether in cartoons, animations, books, or movies, which the company who has the ownership of them wanted to create a reimagination of them in a video game, which all went wrong. The case of Pat, the son of Connor, is a little obscured as he picked up a camcorder following certain instructions, which means Connor wasn't there anymore, whether dying by Brandon or being the one who committed the murders. This leads to a subsequent video of a perspective of someone jumping off the roof, which could be whether Connor or his son, Pat. More updates are seemingly underway to release, unveiling more secrets about the story. And that's it for this very convoluted and ambiguous story, which I really hope to see more updates for. If you enjoyed this video, you can stay tuned for more by hitting on the subscribe button and the notification bell. And if you have any video requests, you can DM me or tag me on my Twitter. It's been your host R, and I hope to see you on the next one. Take care.